I'm Greg Wittstock, the Pond Guy, and this is how I live the Aquascape lifestyle. So I only have 7 fish in here. That's a beautiful Yamabuki, yellow one. I've got an awesome Showa in here. I have 3 baby fish that were born here. And so there's only 7 total fish in this pond. But you know what? I think it's in balance. It's in balance with the plants. It's just an ecosystem. And I've had to pick out some of the babies and put them on Facebook, and people have come by and picked them up in their own buckets. But this is a good balance, a healthy ecosystem. Not too many fish, not too big a fish, just the right size fish, and they're very healthy and natural in there. What do you think? You can see the first reds of fall coming up on the Wasatch Mountain, the backdrop. And speaking of the backdrop, the Provo River, which runs basically parallel to my entire house here, that was the inspiration for this water feature. So it's kind of long and narrow. I mean, it's a big pond, but it's kind of not just in one big area. It's just kind of matching the river below. That was the entire philosophy. When Ed, the pond professor, and I discussed this and we came out and designed this, we wanted it to be kind of mimicking the river below it, and I think we've achieved that in spades. So I'm going to give you my whole walkthrough of how we designed this and actually how it came about to be. It's kind of a pretty cool process, but what a beautiful backdrop that we have out here, huh? Willow's absolute favorite thing to do is to swim in her pond after our walks, and could you blame her when you have that to cool off in? Not bad. She's got quite the life out here. That's our rescue Beagle Rat Terrier Australian Shepherd mix, 5 years old, and she has definitely enjoyed living the aquascape lifestyle out here in Utah. But I'm just going to give you how this actually functions. So this is the lower waterfalls. What I really love about this waterfalls is I can see it from my chair right over there. I don't like these plants to kind of block them, so I'm going to pull these plants out, and eventually I'm going to put another door here. So I have my walkout door here. I'm not going to use this more for a walkout, just the views, because those plants and this wall kind of restricts my view when I'm sitting down. Only when I'm standing can I see it. So a water feature's always never done, and neither are the views from the house, I guess. So I have this entire area, believe it or not, down here is actually filled with the aqua blocks. So there's a 2,000-gallon cistern holding water underneath this patio in here. There's a permeable patio. So a small amount of rain that we get a year, which is about 15 inches a year, actually can just soak through there. I got the permanent gas line in there, beautiful sitting here, and I love the sunken feel of this. So, you know, the fact that you've got to kind of walk down these steps to get here creates a different element to it. But just listen to that view. It helps break the street noise from behind, and it just, you know, looks so natural, this is super cool. I've had this tree in here for 3 years, or this stump in here for 3 years, and just this year it's sprouted new growth. I'm absolutely amazed that an aspen for 3 years could just lie dormant, and then because of the constant flow of water and time and elements, the sun, got a brand new sprout just coming out of it. So I'm gonna see how big that grows. I'll probably have to trim it back, but the idea here was we harvested this wood from the valley down below where the river is, and we chunked up this little piece here to make it look like a beaver bit. So a little beaver dam in here. I got some corkscrew rush in here. Obviously I put the annual potted plants, which are getting ready to come out. They've been in there for about just over 3 months, and this softening up the edges, and that's kind of one of the things I want to talk about. This is the 3rd year for my terrestrial plants, and I think they always say it's the first year sleep, the 2nd year creep, and the 3rd year leap, and it's really leaped well. I mean, when you have the creeping Jenny, and I mean, you can barely even see just a little patch of mulch there, and that's what softens up the border. You don't want to see all stone, so we got 3 stones here, no problem. And then I've got some Louisiana iris that I still even haven't deadheaded. Very low maintenance, this pond. I should probably deadhead those. Once again, one of those seasonal annual baskets and a piece of wood, and then another rock again. So how do you make something look natural? You don't have just a ring of pearls look of stone. The plants, the wood, decorative elements that you can add, soften up the border, but you want a backdrop. So this entire, the black-eyed Susans, the ornamental grasses, something that would stop your eyes from just going and continuing on. And it creates this little enclave. And then, you know, I got a big destination rock here, but I soften it up with an annual basket. And then check out my lilies. So it's hard to grow lilies at 6,000 feet. I'm finding this out. So I'm not going to have giant full lilies, but they're just so healthy. The pads, you know, that one is pink pom-pom, and you can see the different variations, the striations in the leaves. Some of them have pink patches. No flowers blooming right now. There's a spent flower right there I'll have to trim off. And that's all I do is I just basically trim off the dead lily leaves and the dead lilies. But once again, here's my destination rock that I could walk out to, get up close and personal with the water feature. See the fish, get close to the fish. And once again, that backdrop of having a vertical element behind to stop your eyes, softening up the borders with potted plants, with creeping Jenny. And then of course, another small little waterfalls trickling in. One of my favorite things about this is at night, first of all, this whole pond at night is just incredible. But I love how the light hits the waterfalls and reflects off of the grasses behind, and you can just get different shades of coloring. This is a really unusual first time we've ever done it, which is kind of crazy when you think we've been doing this for 33 years. But we didn't really know how, Brian didn't know how to pull the liner and stop it right underneath here, so he just pulled it all the way under and behind that retaining wall. So right there, that retaining wall with the Aquascape fire rock, the liner actually goes underneath the entire thing, and this is technically a floating patio. It's got the grating on top of it, but it's just a floating patio. I got my bridge from my buddy Bernie, which I love, the low profile bridge. Still got to add some LED light strips underneath it, some color changing LED light strips. So there's always stuff to be done. I've been here 3 years and I'm still tinkering with things, but show you this view from up here. This is actually my wife and I's favorite view. We put the umbrella up at the end of the day. We listen to that sound and we look back and we see the Timpanogos, which are all the way in the distance over there. In fact, right there is Sundance, Robert Redford's Sundance Film Festival. And in about another few weeks, you'll start to see snow on those mountains. There's still some snow in some pockets up there, but this is our favorite view in our yard, looking back at the Timpanogos. Once again, this little bridge area and looking back across the pond. I actually feed the fish right there, so it's pretty nice. But this is just, oh, this is pretty cool. This one, Viso water lily, because of this, I had this little stepping area so I can get from one side to the other without having to go back across the bridge. It's self-seeded. So a tuber came over, floated down, seeded here. I've added some gravel, and of course I fertilized it. No flowers on it right now, but that little quiet eddy, even though that water, and this is crazy, this is probably 3 or 4 inches of water, and yet I have a water lily that normally is in, you know, a foot to 2 feet of water, growing in 3 or 4 inches of water. Nature will find a way, they say. And then I just changed out, this is the only plant that I've changed out. I've just changed out this potted lily with a $30 annual plant that I got from the grocery store the other day. I'm like, oh, I'll just throw in a little bit of splash of color in here. Now, this is interesting. They died back in the heat, but I actually harvested this watercress from a local stream out here, and it has done quite well, and it kind of just softens up the rock work again. In the spring, it really took off. This is the biofalls. I've got it hidden right there. I was actually messing with the propane last night, so I've got a couple propane tanks out there I got to move, but that's the biofalls. That's what it should look like in that clean, natural water that gets filtered through the biological filter. I only have 2 small biofalls on this pond, but because it's got a 2,000-gallon cistern over there underneath my patio, it actually stays, the water stays, because it's not exposed to the sun, stays really clear. So if you look at my yard, it's actually not that big. I'm gonna guess it's probably 50 feet deep by maybe 80 feet wide, and about a third of it is water. And then I got the turf, which I love, by the way, because there's no maintenance, and I got nobody cutting the lawn or blowing the leaves, and it's just very low maintenance. I have done nothing to all of the perennial plants that are in here, but you know, third grass and hardscapes, a third pond, and a third landscaping. So I think it's got a good vibe to it, and to me, it's the right balance. I would of course loved a bigger pond, but I moved from my big house to my smaller yard. It had 4 acres, and now I've got, you know, 7/10 of an acre here, and you could tell that it's pretty much perfectly utilized and filled up with the right amount of landscaping, hardscaping, nice seating area that we have over here from my buddy Cruz that came out here from Chicago to build it. I love this little side garden over here. I have these natural trees that I have a shade area, so when it gets hot, we can sit out here. But once again, what do you guys think of that turf? I think it's always green, doesn't require any water, and I kind of love this little framed area here. When you walk through the garden, it kind of just frames out the pond for you, and to me, this is literally always an evolving process, but exactly what the design should have been. I think it's the right style of situation with a natural and elongated one to match the river down below. So tell me what you think. I got the views from upstairs, the bedroom, the living room, the outside deck, the hot tub. This is my design with Ed Ballou, the pond professor, and Brian Helfrich, my 2 longest guys. And just because I can and I want to, I'm thinking about taking this area and adding another waterfall over here, putting a little stepping bridge in this area, and putting a little stream and a little pond coming up from right outside my seating area. What do you think? It's never done when you own an Aquascape ecosystem pond.